Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Nitro Dropout. This board features Nitro's cam out camber, so you have a smaller rocker section in the nose and the tail, then camber throughout the rest of the board. Yes, it is cam rock, but it is primarily camber dominant with that small rocker section. So what you get is all the load, pop, snap, and drive right from that camber section. And then you got a slight ease of entry in and out of turns from that rocker, as well as a nice little sweet spot to press into when you're buttering and jibbing. This board's available in 153, 156, and 159. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a day that was mostly bluebird skies. You had moderate to high winds, slightly warmer temps. You had leftover hot pow, chop, chunder, perfect corduroy. Just kind of a good mix of everything you get in the spring, and I rode it with my Rome Black Label bindings and my K2 Thraxis boots. So the overall flex of this board comes in at a middle of the road, nothing revolutionary here. You do have softer tips with the nose being slightly softer than the tail, and then it stiffens up through the middle with an abundance of torsional flex. When it comes to stability with this, keep your knees bent because you can get bucked around. You're gonna notice you get some chatter in the tips that does resonate back underfoot. In really rutted out, cruddy terrain, if it's not pushing through everything and it hits something very hard underneath, you're probably gonna get bucked just like you would in any other board. Overall, it's stable enough for what it is. All right, so with this board being camber dominant, you would think that there'd be a ton of snap to it. There isn't. It's consistent and you know what you're gonna get. But when you load it up and roll back on that little rocker zone in the tail and you go to pop with it, it doesn't have a ton of rebound to it. So you actually get a little bit less back than what you put into it. Yeah, you can launch a side hit a cat track gap, ollie over that skier that fell down in front of you. It's gonna get that done, but it's not gonna be mind-blowing. And when it comes to jumps, you wanna keep it in the small to medium range. Anything more, this board just doesn't really have what you're looking for. If you load up off the lip, obviously you're gonna get a little bit more pop, but if you're being laid back and just letting it throw you, it's still gonna get you in the air. So you have that micro rocker in the nose and the tail. That's the sweet spot you wanna line up to when you pop a 180 onto the nose and press into it, where you're going sideways and you're pressing on the tail. That's it. Like that's where you wanna get your weight out over. It's gonna be able to leverage, and the flex is forgiving enough that you can bend this to all your whim. Even with that pointy nose on there, it doesn't hook when you press into like softer snow and flip you around. You can actually lock in and hold it. Now you will get a little bit of pop out of it, not a lot. When it comes to jibbing, I'd really recommend this more for the guy that's cutting through the park and hitting a fat tube or a flat rail. That's really kind of what this is for. It locks in and it holds and it'll pop out of the end of the press, but it's not anything mind-blowing. When you go sideways, that camber section does hug right around the feature without it fully clapping out. Wouldn't be my first board to go and jib with, but if you're cutting through the park and you need to, you can get it done. The nice thing about this board is that it steers right underfoot. You got those power pods, which is an added contact point that bumps out right under the inserts. This is gonna let you torsionally twist the board and really steer it that way. That helps with those short, tight, quick setup carves. Now, when you really lay this board over and you're pushing into the camber off your back foot and driving from the tail, you can lay out a carve. It's those medium carves that this thing kind of has some issues with. It'll lock in and it'll swoop, but it's not the most aggressive. And if you get into rutted out terrain, it will kick out on you. It's just sort of like, hey, I can handle it, but it's not what I want to do. I either want to do tight, quick carves or deep, hard carves. It's that in between where you're like, this is really weird, but that's what it is. Who's this board for? The all-mountain freestyle rider that wants a fun shape. So compared to the last time I rode this board, it just didn't feel as poppy, which was kind of a letdown, but everything else worked great. I like the way that it turned, and you know, it's a fun shape. It turns heads and people are like, oh, you can't ride that in the park, but you can. It's a directional twin. That's really what it is. I like it. I like the shape of it. Just wish it had a little bit more pop. Comparable boards: the Rome Stale Cruiser, the Bataleon Beyond Metals, the GNU Anti-Gravity. Binding recommendations: the Nitro 1, the Bataleon Blaster Full Wrap, the Bent Metal Action. This has been my review of the Nitro Dropout. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this snowboard. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.